Are you listening?
You know, in the entertainment industry, there's a saying called the jump the shark moment, which is meant to describe a moment in a show or a sitcom when they do something so absurd or ridiculous just to keep the audience's attention. And I believe it started with Happy Days, when for some reason the writers thought it would make for good television to have Fonzie jump over a shark while water skiing. And ever since that day, when a television show does something so absurd, it's referred to as, well, they jumped the shark with that episode. And in the history of the Nerf Report, with all of the videos we've ever made, this one is definitely going to be our jump the shark moment, because it is hands down the biggest, most expensive video that we have attempted to make yet. I mean, we have tested Google Stadia on hotel internet. We've tested Google Stadia streaming to a VR headset, and today we are going to put Google Stadia up to its biggest test yet. Can Google Stadia run on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? That's right, we are going to Hawaii, baby! Now, just a little backstory here. I have been using Google Stadia as my preferred gaming platform since its launch back in 2019. Stadia, of course, is a cloud gaming platform, which means there is no physical console. Instead, Stadia streams video games directly to the devices that you already own. So in many ways, if you have a smartphone or a tablet, that is your Stadia console. If you own a laptop, computer, Chromecast, or an Android TV stick, that is your Stadia console. And the reason that I want to make this absurdly expensive video is where I live in Austin, Texas. We are kind of in an internet mecca, with many internet providers offering gigabit data packages. I mean, I myself have 100 megabit internet speeds, which compared to the national average here in America is extremely good, and quite frankly, well beyond the required internet speed to make Stadia work. And you know, in all of my time of using Google Stadia, I've never got to experience Stadia running in an unsupported market. So I'm really interested to see how Stadia holds up in a market like Hawaii. And I'm sure somebody watching this is probably thinking,
Hawaii is in the United States. The US is a supported market, so of course it's going to work in Hawaii.
and unfortunately, that is where you would be wrong, my friend, because Hawaii is 3,500 miles away from where I live in Austin, Texas. And while they are a state, they are not included in the Stadia supported market list. In fact, the closest Google data center to Hawaii is 2,500 miles away in Oregon. But just to cover all of my bases, I wanted to make it official. So I tweeted Google Stadia, "Hey Stadia, any news on support for Google Stadia running on the island of Hawaii?" To which Stadia replied back, "Hi Bryant, thanks for your tweet. We still have no news to share about the availability of Stadia in Hawaii." So with that confirmation, we are ready to set out on the adventure of a lifetime to answer the question all of us have been wondering: can you get Google Stadia to run in Hawaii? All right, we are in Oahu. Yes, we are here in Hawaii. We flew all the way from Austin, Texas in order to make this video. Some of you might be thinking, this is definitely a green screen. Trust me, I'm pretty good with editing, but I'm not this good. That is the real Pacific Ocean. There are cars, runners, everything going on down here. We are literally a stone throw away from the beautiful Waikiki Beach. And like I said, we are here to put Google Stadia to its limits. And we are going to test this by running it on my cell phone, through my laptop, along with the Chromecast Ultra connected to the hotel TV. And you know, ideally, I would have loved to test out the new Chromecast with Google TV, but seeing that we are filming this prior to the official support date, I decided that I needed decided to pass on that. But hey, there's no reason we can't make an episode 2, so Google, if you like what we did in this video, just slide into my DMs and maybe we can make a part 2 where I fly back and test it out. And seeing that this is the second video we've done trying to get Google Stadia to work on hotel Wi-Fi, I came prepared this time because I picked up one of these Netgear Wi-Fi extenders that all of you recommended in my comment section of the last video. And I've got to say, it made installation a dream. I simply created a new private network that was running on the hotel Wi-Fi, and I was able to connect my Chromecast Ultra to that network and avoid any of those stupid hotel internet restrictions. Now, I do think we should point out, seeing that Google Stadia doesn't really officially support Hawaii, I'm not looking for 4K 60 frames per second. Instead, I just want to see, can I get video games to run on Google Stadia while I'm in Hawaii? Now, the Chromecast Ultra obviously will be running on hotel Wi-Fi, which I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised to see that this Sheraton has 50 megabit per second download, which quite frankly should be more than adequate to run a cloud gaming service like Google Stadia. And after connecting all of my devices to the Wi-Fi network, sure enough, Stadia was able to stream games to my Chromecast. Granted, there was the occasional choppiness in the gameplay, but I found that the overall gameplay experience was still pretty enjoyable. I mean, nowhere near the experience that I have back in Austin, Texas, but again, we are streaming video games from a data center 3,000 miles away to an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in a market that isn't even supported by Google yet. I mean, the fact that that is even a thing still kind of blows my mind. So next up, I wanted to try out Google Stadia on my laptop, and out of all of them, this was probably the cleanest of all of the experiences. This time, I kind of wanted to avoid the Wi-Fi extender, so I connected my laptop directly to the hotel Wi-Fi. I signed in to Google Stadia and was able to play games that surprisingly felt extremely similar to playing games at home. In fact, while trying out Hello Neighbor, I was really impressed by the responsiveness that I was getting from Stadia. And if I would have seen this footage by itself, I never would have thought that this is coming from Stadia running in an unsupported market. I mean, overall, this is a really positive note for the platform. Now, I do want to point out, we still continue to get the unstable network notification from Google Stadia while playing games, but it didn't interrupt the gameplay at all. It actually led me to believe that we are pushing the service to its limitation while we're here. But needless to say, PC definitely surprised me. And the final test, of course, would be using our cell phone. And for this, I tried out Google Stadia on both the hotel Wi-Fi and through my phone's cellular connection while in the room. And while connected to the hotel Wi-Fi, the mobile experience worked pretty well. However, when connected to Stadia via my cellular network, there definitely was a noticeable difference. Like, I noticed things like degradation in the video, choppiness in the gameplay. I didn't have any lag per se, but there was definitely a difference that's worth noting. And I'm definitely not trying to make excuses here, but we are on the 16th floor of this hotel, and I already don't have a good cell signal up here. And seeing that this video is supposed to be, can we run Google Stadia in Hawaii, and not can we run Google Stadia at my hotel, I figured, let's stop hanging out in the room, let's go out, put Google Stadia to the limits, and explore Hawaii. All right, we are back in Austin, Texas. What a trip it's been. If you've never been to Hawaii, highly recommend going. Extremely beautiful. And the big takeaway for me was that the people on the island still had like this respect or reverence for just nature and everything that surrounds them that I think a lot of times I completely forget to acknowledge. And it was really, really cool to see that still exist on Hawaii. But totally not the point of the video. The question is, does Google Stadia run in Hawaii? And the answer, much like most of the other videos, is yes, as long as you have a good connection. Because while I was able to get Stadia to work at various locations in Hawaii, there were still locations that Stadia just did not operate well at. And seeing that I was running games through my cell phone, this is directly correlated to the fact that I had zero cell signal. But for me, as someone who is constantly traveling and on the road, I think that the big takeaway here is that Stadia is getting closer and closer to that service that is going to allow me to never have to travel with my PlayStation or my Xbox or my Nintendo Switch again. All I'm going to need is a screen and a controller, and I am all in for that. And I guess to wrap up this video, thank you so much for watching. I genuinely hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like it, please let us know in the comment section. And if you want us to test Stadia out in other places, please let us know where you want us to test Google Stadia next. I am happy to try out more of these videos. And Google, if you're watching, don't forget, my DMs are wide open. Until next time, my name is Brian Chappell, and this is the Nerf Report. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, which who wouldn't, hit the subscribe button right there. And while you're down there, hit the like button. Maybe even consider becoming a Nerf Report best friend, just like the people listed down below did. In fact, don't you want to see your name there? I know I do.